What's happening, everybody? Coach Andrew here with another episode of Ask Coach Andrew. And again, this seems to be some kind of trend. I have a question about relationships. I don't know why you guys keep asking me so many relationship questions. I am a strength coach, a business coach. I'm all about mindset, self-development, philosophy. I'm not a relationship coach, and I've been married to a girl who I've known since I was like 4 years old. She's my high school sweetheart, literally the only woman I've ever been with. I'm the only man she's ever been with. So I don't feel like I'm an expert at dating or relationships, but I do feel like I'm an expert at marriage and parenting, or at least I'm becoming an expert at these things. So maybe that's why you guys value my perspective on these things, because I've never really been in the dating scene. I've not at all interested in hookup culture or anything like that. So I don't really know. I leave this open-ended question up to you. You can tell me in the comments why you do or why you do not value my opinions on these things. But regardless of that thought, we do have a question today from a viewer who is interested in dating a girl, or he has been on a few dates with a girl who already has a kid, right? A toddler. He didn't give me a lot of information in this email, but he says that he likes this girl. He's interested in becoming an item with her, but she's got a kid with another man, and he wants my take on it. He wants my honest opinion on whether or not he should start dating a girl who's his age, who's single, but already has a kid with another man. So, I mean, first things first, there's probably going to be a lot of people who don't like what I have to say. I'm going to just try to be as honest and as practical about this as possible. I don't have a lot of information to go off of, so I'm going to be kind of broad and, narrow on a few important avenues of information that we should all be considering here in this situation. But that being said, some of this will apply to you, some of this will not. Some of you will agree with what I had to say, and a lot of you will probably disagree, and that's fine. You can leave comments down below. You can, say whatever you want to say about me, but please be respectful to each other, and try to be open-minded if you're going to talk to each other about these things. Now, my initial gut reaction to this question is, sure, like, why not? If you like this girl, if you like the kid, if it seems like a good situation and a good thing for you, then yeah, there should be no hesitation. You should date this girl and do what feels right. But you sound like you really kind of want to dig into the issue. You want to look at every single aspect and make every single consideration possible before jumping into a relationship, right? Regardless if the woman is a single mother or not, it's probably smart to do these things. So I'm hoping that I can help you do that. First things first, I'm going to share some statistics that I dug up for you guys on single parenthood, single motherhood. Now remember, these are just statistics, okay? A lot of statistics are not helpful for anything, really. They're just numbers on a sheet of paper, and people are not walking statistics, despite what the media and lots of other groups out there would have you believe. People are not walking statistics. But here are some for our situation. So about 60% of single mothers live at or below the poverty line. Kids raised with only one parent are twice as likely to drop out of school, 2.5 times more likely to become teen mothers themselves, and 40% more likely to be unemployed after high school. They have lower GPAs on average, lower attendance at college and high school, and higher rates of eventual divorce. A 2009 study by Brett Larson showed that single mothers fight with their children more often and have higher levels of family dysfunction and disorder. 78% of children living with a never married parent grow up in a rented home, which is far more than children who have parents who are married, which indicates a decreased ability to build generational wealth. There's lots of statistics like this, right? And some of them might be skewed, some of them might be accurate, but fact of the matter here is it seems like single motherhood might not be so good for the kids, might not be so good for society. But it's also important to remember that life is nuanced and complex, and nobody on this planet is a walking statistic, right? And furthermore, for just about every girl out there that has a kid out of wedlock, there's a man who has a kid out of wedlock, right? There's a man who left the scene, whether she did something wrong, whether he did something wrong, whether they both did something wrong, is kind of irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, things happen, and people make mistakes all the time. And people also have a profound ability to turn what at first might feel or seem like a mistake, to turn that into something great, right? To turn it into something beautiful, meaningful, profound, and important. I've had a few catastrophic mistakes in my life, right? When I dropped out of a school and lost a $400,000 scholarship. I had a failing business. I've done lots of things. Neither of my kids were planned, right? These things could all be categorized as mistakes by some people. And at some point in my life, there may have been a moment of panic where I felt like, oh God, this was a mistake. But later on, I actually figured out it was a wonderful, amazing thing that changed who I was as a person and ended up being good for me. So it's important to remember that. Slapping labels on things and leaving them there as a permanent fixture is never a smart way to categorize people or situations or trends or things. Like, stuff changes, and it's important to remember that. So do what you will with those stats. But, you never really know the full story until you read the whole book. So the first thing is get to know her, right? Get to know her story. Spend more time with her. Go on some more dates. Don't become an item until you feel comfortable with this situation. Once you know enough about her, you can compare her story to everything else that you've heard about single mothers, to everything else that you think you know about single mothers and kids and being a dad and what all of this means, right? Once you know her, you can hold her up, hold the light of who she is up to everything else that you think you know and think you believe, and make a more informed decision. Because the truth is, a lot of us think we know a lot of stuff about a lot of things, and the truth is most of us don't know anything about anything. That's just the truth. Doubt grows with knowledge, and the older you get, the more you realize that you're just stupid. So that's our preface, and now I have a couple questions that I want to ask you, the man who wrote me this email. These are serious questions that I really want you to look inward and seriously consider, right? Think very hard and deep about these questions. Pause the video, write them down if you have to. But these are my questions for you, because this is not just about her. This is not just about her kid or her story or her life. It's about you. And you need to take responsibility for the part that you're potentially going to play in this relationship. And my first question is, do you deserve a good woman, right? Because this email kind of had a tone to it that made it sound like you're asking me, does this woman deserve me? Or should I take this burden upon myself? And that could be a fair question, right? That is a fair question. But a question that's also just as fair is, do you deserve her? If she is a good woman, do you deserve that, right? What makes you think that you're the right fit for this situation? And what makes you think that you deserve a relationship that doesn't have baggage? What makes you think you deserve a woman who doesn't have baggage or burdens or mistakes, right? Because we all have scars, right? We all are carrying around flaws and imperfections. And to expect yourself to be able to find a partner out there who's perfect and to just ignore your own flaws is a huge mistake that a lot of people make. And you have just as much right as anyone else to be choosy, but you need to understand where your role is. And you need to see and understand the economics of this situation. And you've got to be honest and try really hard not to lie to yourself, because this girl might have a kid. And that might mean that you have to father someone else's child, and that might be difficult, and that might be a burden, and you might have to deal with this kid's dad occasionally, and there might be all kinds of complications that come with this relationship, and you know that, and that worries you. But what about you? Are you worth your salt? Are you going to be a good dad? Are you going to be a good husband, a good boyfriend? Are you going to take care of them? Are you going to be supportive? Are you going to help her get over past experiences or traumas or emotional baggage that she might be carrying? Are you going to be a supportive figure? Are you going to be worth it for her? Because this is a question she has to ask herself too. What makes this man right for my kid? My life is already hard enough. I have to raise this kid on my own. If I'm going to find a man to help me, he has to be good for this kid. It's not just about you and her. It's about the kid too. And I'll tell you, man, when people need to be choosy, when there's really something valuable on the line, like a kid, like your own child, you're going to be good at being choosy. When I first started dating my wife, I don't know why she kept me around, honestly. I was pretty useless when she started dating me, and I put us through a lot of crap, right? It wasn't problems with the relationship. It wasn't drama. It wasn't interpersonal problems. It was me blindly chasing my own ambition, right? I dragged her through this whole situation with the ROTC and the Army, going to West Point, the military academy, dropping out, not knowing what to do in college, kind of mindlessly wandering for a couple years, having kids, starting a business, going $30,000 in debt. For a very long time, I sucked. I was not a good partner. I wasn't upholding my end of the bargain. I was a financial burden. I was an emotional burden. But she kept me around because I have principles. I'm loyal to a fault. She's the same way. She's loyal. And she knows that when I say I'm going to do something, I will eventually do it. Even if I'm stupid and I mess it all up for years, and I talk about it for years and make no progress, I might even take steps backward, she knows that I'm good for my word. And eventually I will follow through. And I'll always be loyal, and I'll always do it for her, and I'll never leave her. And that's why she kept me around. Right? So I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm not saying you have to be a millionaire with a huge house. You're ready to put this kid in a private school and marry this woman. Not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, do you have what it takes inside to be worth it for this woman? Do you have a vision? Do you have a purpose? Do you have principles? That's what this takes. And if you don't have any of those things, if this woman's good, she might not keep you around anyways. You might not be worth her time. And if you end up getting in a relationship with her and pretending to be daddy to this kid for a year or two and pretending to be a husband or a boyfriend of this girl and you end up leaving or screwing something up, you're making her life worse. So don't do that. Now, the second question I have for you kind of plays off of what I just said, and it's, what kind of man are you, right? Are you selfish or are you selfless? Because getting into a committed relationship with a woman who has another man's child, and you basically become the stand-in father for that child, and that could depend on whether or not the actual biological father is there, or if he's not. I don't know the background. I don't know the story about your particular situation, but you might have to be a stand-in dad, or you might kind of have to compete with the actual dad. There's a lot going on here, and the kind of man that you are is going to play the biggest role in how you handle this, right? Are you selfless enough to do this? Because if we get biological here, if we get Darwinian here, right? Raising another man's kid, kind of counterintuitive. Not an easy thing to do, right? But at the same time, if you really love someone, and if you really get to know a child, the heart of a child, the mind of a child, you can really start to love pretty much anyone's kid. They become your own. And this can become a very serious situation very quickly. Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to become a dad? Because there's a lot of ways that this could go. And the content of your character is going to determine which way you take this, right? And you can look up statistics about step parents and stepchildren, right? There's higher rates of violence, higher rates of domestic abuse, things like that. That can get ugly. What type of man are you, and how are you going to handle this situation? The third question I have for you is, who is this girl? Again, you didn't give me a lot of details, but under what circumstances did she have the kid? Have you two talked about it? Who is the dad? Where is he? What kind of role does he play in her life? What kind of role does he play in the child's life? Right? What's her financial situation like? What's her family situation like? What's her home situation like? These are all important questions, and they're fair for you to ask, right? You have a right to ask these questions and talk about these things, and she has the same right to ask you these questions too. It's easy to judge people based on things they've done in the past. It's really, really easy to judge people based on their mistakes. I wouldn't encourage you to do that. But there is information contained in those things that you should consider. Only after you've talked to her, though, and heard her take on things. If you feel like you need to do some digging, even after talking to her, if you feel like for some reason maybe you don't trust her and you need to ask her friends or her family or people who were there in the background what happened and try to figure out, what her story really is. If you feel like you don't trust her, that's a red flag to me. If you don't feel like she's trustworthy, then I would probably just leave it alone, right? But if you can openly discuss these things with her, if you earn her trust, right? If you are able to show her who you are and she opens up to you and starts sharing her story, and you can learn about her and her past, and you feel like you trust her, then that's very important. That's a big step, right? Because if you can share your past with her and she can do the same with you, you guys can get a better understanding of each other. You can start to see how you fit together and start talking about some kind of rough vision that you might have for the future together as a family unit, right? And that's where you need to get, because if you don't have that shared vision for yourselves as a family unit, there's going to be a lack of cohesion. So these conversations need to happen. And if you feel at all that there's any distrust or dishonesty, that's a huge red flag. You don't want her to be hiding anything about anything from you, especially as it relates to the kid. And this is something else I kind of want to throw in there too, because this is something I would say for any other relationship, regardless of whether or not there's a kid involved. You need to talk about your values, you need to talk about your beliefs, and you need to talk about your vision for the future, right? By values, I'm talking about things that are largely regarded as spiritual or political or social. Are you more conservative or are you more liberal? What kind of family do you want to have? How do you want to raise kids? What are your spiritual or religious beliefs, right? What do you believe about politics? That's kind of important. You need to get these things out in the open. And if you feel compatible, if you feel like you guys complement each other, which, by the way, doesn't mean you guys have to be carbon copies of each other intellectually. It just means you have to fit together well enough to share some kind of common vision moving forward. If you feel like you can reach that point, then you need to talk about what that vision is. Where do you want to live? What kind of job do you want to have? Do you want to go back to school, right? Where do you want to send your kids? What are you going to teach your kids about sex and politics and religion? Like these are big, important questions. How much do you value your health? How much do you value money, right? These are all very important things that any couple needs to talk about before they start getting serious. And lastly, this is really important if her story turns out to be kind of difficult. If she had a difficult past, if things didn't end well with the biological father, or, there's been any kind of hardship, financial, emotional, physical hardship, this is important. And the question I want to ask you is, do you feel like she has changed, right? Because a lot of people, the sad truth is that a lot of people, when they go through difficult things, some people don't change for the better. Some people have very fixed mindsets, and when bad things happen to them, those bad things end up making them worse off. It ends up closing them off. They experience so much emotional or psychological pain from something that they close off the possibility of change. They close off the possibility of positive interpretation, and they end up internalizing these things in a way that's harmful to themselves and the people around them. A lot of people become victims, right? And some people truly are victims. Don't misread what I'm saying at all here. If something bad happens to someone, they are a victim. But that can easily turn into a victim complex, right? And I'm not just saying this for you. I'm not just saying this for you because this woman is a single mother. I'm saying this to everybody watching who's in a relationship or considering getting into a relationship. If your partner's carrying severe baggage, emotional baggage, psychological baggage, and they have internalized their trauma into a fixed mindset where they take all that hurt and that pain and they deflect it outwards and blame other people. They blame society. They blame religion. They blame the culture. They blame other people for their problems. They have become toxic. You can turn this around, but it is very difficult to move someone from a fixed victim mindset into a growth positive mindset. It's very difficult. I've posted other videos on my channel about mindset. I'm obsessed with this. It's basically all I talk about. So if you want more information on this, subscribe to the channel, watch some of my other videos, send me an email. I'll answer your question directly. But if this girl is damaged, if she has baggage and she's blaming other people, odds are this relationship won't end well for you anyways, unless you are willing to fight the good fight and really, really help her. And you have to have a growth mindset too in order to do that. If you have a fixed mindset, this is a fight you're not going to win, because you have to fix yourself before you can fix other people. You have to fix your own house before you can fix the world. That's just how it works. So my last question to you is, does she own her decisions? Does she own her past? Is she able to clearly articulate to you how the past has changed her and made her a better person? Does she have regrets, or does she have mistakes that she turned into learning situations? Does she view her past as a sequence of tragedies or a sequence of accomplishments? These are very important questions, and asking her difficult questions like this, when she's comfortable enough to answer them, will give you massive insight into how her mind works and whether or not she has a positive or negative mindset. And After you have that information, you can make the decision for yourself if you're ready to take on someone with a negative mindset, if she has one, or if she has a positive mindset. You can look at all the information you've gathered and say, well, I really like this girl, and neither of us are perfect, but I'm willing to do this, and I'm willing to commit. And in the end, that's all this comes down to. In the end, you can disregard everything I just said, because it ultimately comes down to, are you willing to commit? If you feel like she's willing to commit and you're willing to commit and make this work, you can make it work, right? Some people are difficult. It's just the truth. But you have to decide which difficult people are worth it. And that can be a tough decision sometimes. I hope this video helped you, my friend. I wish you the absolute best. Raising kids is a noble endeavor. Raising other people's kids is a very noble endeavor. It can't be easy. I have 2 of my own biological daughters. It's hard enough raising my own kids. But I believe in you, brother, and I respect you for what you're doing. I think you asked a very fair question. You shouldn't feel any shame for asking these questions. But really, really dive into yourself. Ask yourself what kind of man you are, what you're willing to do, how far you're willing to go, and if you can get this girl to open up her heart to you, and you can hear her story openly and have honest, open conversations about the past, the present, and the future, I truly believe you can find the answer that you're looking for, and it will be very clear to you when you find it, and you'll be able to move forward confidently, and that's that. I will see you guys in the next video. If you have your own questions to ask me, you can send them to the email down in the description or leave them in the comments. I can answer them in a video format. I'm here to help you guys with anything related to life, business, fitness, health, and relationships, apparently. But we'll be around. So I appreciate all of you who watch. About 50% of you, half of you guys who watch my videos are not subscribed. So I appreciate it very, very much if you subscribe to this channel. You can check out some of the links down in the description, like Buy Me a Coffee. You can use my affiliate link for ClickFunnels or NordVPN. All 3 of those are great ways to support me if you want to go that extra mile, and they're all great products that I personally use. So if you use the affiliate link, I get a small commission. That's all I got for you, though. You guys rock. We will see you in the next video. Have a good day.